Valak's Terror in the Amityville Horror House. The infamous Amityville Horror House stood as a shadowy monument to terror. Its windows seemed to leer like eyes, daring anyone foolish enough to enter. Over the years, many who had dared to cross its threshold whispered tales of inexplicable cold spots, disembodied voices, and shadowy figures. But none had ever spoken of the most sinister presence, the demonic nun Valak, who had made the house her domain. Sarah and her husband Michael were skeptics who prided themselves on debunking paranormal claims. Armed with cameras, recording devices, and their dog Max, they entered the house late one evening. The air inside was oppressive, filled with a damp, musty smell that clung to their nostrils. "This place is nothing but a collection of old creaks and drafts," Michael declared, setting up their equipment in the living room. Sarah, however, couldn't shake a growing unease. The walls seemed too close, the air too still. Max whimpered and refused to move past the entryway, his ears pinned back. As night fell, the house came alive. Whispers echoed through the hallways, too faint to discern but unmistakably there. The temperature dropped sharply, and an eerie mist began to creep across the floor. "Michael, are you hearing this?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before he could reply, the living room lights flickered and went out. In the glow of their flashlights, a figure began to materialize in the corner, a tall woman in a tattered nun's habit. Her face was grotesque, a pale mask of malevolence with hollow eyes that burned with dark fire. "Who are you?" Sarah managed to choke out, her hand gripping Michael's arm. The figure stepped forward, her voice a guttural rasp. "I am Valak, the defiler, the profane. You dare to enter my sanctuary?" The house trembled as her voice reverberated through the walls. Furniture toppled, and the temperature plummeted to a bone-chilling cold. Michael grabbed Sarah's hand, pulling her toward the front door, but it slammed shut with a deafening crash. "You think you can leave?" Valak sneered, her figure now blocking their escape. Max barked and lunged at the apparition, but Valak flicked her hand, sending the dog yelping into the darkness. Sarah screamed as the demonic nun loomed closer, her claw-like hands outstretched. Desperate, Michael hurled a camera at Valak. The device shattered against her chest, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she laughed, a deep, guttural sound that chilled them to the core. The couple fled up the staircase, Valak's laughter echoing behind them. They barricaded themselves in the master bedroom, trembling as the door began to rattle. "She's going to kill us," Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. "No, she won't," Michael said, clutching a wooden cross they'd found among the debris. When the door burst open, Valak stood there, her dark energy filling the room. Michael raised the cross, but the nun merely hissed, her voice dripping with contempt. "Foolish mortal trinkets hold no power here." As Valak lunged, Sarah screamed, and then everything went black. When they awoke, it was dawn. The house was silent, the air still. They stumbled outside, Max trailing behind, unharmed but shaken. They never spoke of what happened in the Amityville Horror House, but they knew they had encountered pure evil. And deep inside the house, Valak waited.